It was a cold, wet, windy, damp, chilly day. It was a Saturday in Oxford, England, and the year was 1954. And probably typical British weather if you've ever been over there. You know what kind of day that is. And there was a track and field event that was scheduled that day. And the officials were trying to decide whether they were going to hold it or not because the conditions were poor. And wind gusted up to 25 miles an hour. And eventually the wind started to lay down a little bit, so they decided to go ahead with this. So I doubt anybody really believed that day or knew that they were going to witness history on that day, because history was made on that day. See, on that wet, windy, chilly day, a young medical student from Oxford University ran the first ever 4-minute mile. Had never been done. 100 years of modern athletics. Anybody ever heard of Roger Bannister? Yeah, got a couple nods. Roger Bannister broke that 4-minute mile. Had never been done. It's considered one of the most significant athletic achievements of the 20th century. History. And he became all the newspapers, all the media around the world hear about Roger Bannister. He's in the news, just a medical student. But I don't think that's actually the most interesting part of the story of what happened then. I think what comes next is more interesting. You see, because 46 days later, somebody did it again. Had never been done ever in 100 years of modern athletics. 46 days later, somebody did it again. About a month and a half after that, 2 guys in the same race broke through, beat the record by 2 seconds. And in track and field, that's huge. The next year, 3 men in the same race broke that 4-minute mile. In fact, within 4 years, by 1958, 24 people had broken through that 4-minute mile barrier. What's going on here? 6 years later, a high school kid did it. What are we witnessing there? You see, the medical community, not the entire, but there were some in the medical community that didn't even think it was possible to push the body that hard. They thought you may risk death by trying to do something like that. And runners generally had said, they just didn't know that they could even done it. But what happened, I think, humble opinion, non-runner opinion, I have asthma. If you see me running, someone's chasing me, help me, call 911. I think Roger Bannister broke through a barrier that people didn't know if it could happen or not. And once he did it and demonstrated it, and he set that example, they realized they could do it too. I can do this. I've seen it done. It has been done. I can do it too. And I think all those runners and all the runners since then have been running through the shadows of Roger Bannister. Let's show his picture. I think we have a picture of him here. I like this. It's 1954, so things weren't in color yet. Remember that? Everybody lived in black and white, right? Didn't they always think, did they live in black and white? There he is. We're in the middle of a series this morning on the family. Greg, Lisa, we've heard about the family. And I would just like to take a few minutes and talk about breaking through the barrier and setting the example for those around us in 3 areas of our life: in our conduct, in our consistency, and in our compassion. Because I think that's what we need to do or should be doing as parents, as husbands, as wives. And here, among you, we need to be doing that. Before I get into conduct and consistency and compassion, I want to talk about the power of example. See, I think Roger Bannister is a great example of the power of example, right? Why is an example so important? It's actually kind of how we learn. We we learn by seeing and watching, right? Think about riding a bike or tying your shoes. How did you learn to ride a bike? Who here can ride a bike? Nice. So did you go, hand up everyone that went to a lecture to learn how to ride a bike? No? Webinar? Podcast? YouTube video? How did you learn how to ride a bike? Somebody stood beside you and said, like this is how it's done. You can do it. Go faster now. And then they fall down, and you go pick them up. And you come back and go, okay, that was fine. Here. No, you're doing great. You're doing really good. It's like this. How did you learn how to tie your shoes? Lecture? All right, there'll be a test at the end of this. I practiced before coming here if I had to explain to someone how to tie their shoes that had never tied. Okay, so you take the two ends, you hold them up, and then you lay it across. It's just hard to even explain. Tying your shoes. How did you learn? Who here can tie their shoes? How did you learn how to tie your shoes? Someone said like this. Do it like this. Copy me, right? That's how we learn. I did a lot of studying for this morning, and I learned that half of our brain power, half of the stuff that's going on up here, is processing what we see. And that studies show that around 75 or 80% of what we learn, we actually learn visually. So to some degree, we're all visual learners, right? I was a communication major, so I'm really interested in communication, and I've seen studies that if a lecture is given, or if a speech, sermon, with no visual aids, none of this, 3 days later you retain 10%. Add visual aids, 3 days later, 65%. So you will go out and have a great meal, and you live in Florida, so you get to see palm trees and sun and say, a lot of what it's gonna get whitewashed. But you may remember Roger Bannister running through that tape. You may remember the guy showing his grandchild how to ride a bike. These are on purpose. Examples in our life are what we can look to, right? When we're trying to know how to do something, how to remember how to do something. And they're powerful. We learn by seeing it done. We've been doing it since we were born. We learn by example. And that's why it's so important that we live a Christian life that's not just hanging on for dear life, Greg, but as overcomers, as examples to those of us all around us, right? How did you come to be a Christian, a believer? How did you come to that? Did you hear someone lecture about that? Or did you see, like me, I saw someone living a life that was better than what I was doing? It was just better. They had faith. They were grounded. You know, I'm running all over the place and fear and doubt, and I saw it. It was being demonstrated in front of me. I think that's what God wants us to do. I think it's what He wants us to do. Have we got Jim Henson up there? Do we have this one? Do we have this slide? I'm bouncing all over the place. I'm giving those guys in the back a real hard time. I've always loved this quote. Kids don't remember what you try and teach them. They remember who you are. I think we owe it to our family, to our wives, to our husbands, to our kids, to those around us, to not just rely on this Sunday morning, to rely on Greg to come in here and give us something. I don't think that's enough for our families. I just don't think that's enough. We need this. We should do this. But it's not enough. It's not life-changing. When we live it and set an example, that's how lives are changed. I think. So let's go to the conduct slide. 3 areas I think that we are called to really set an example in conduct. I love Titus 2:7. Show yourself in all aspects to be a model of good works. Be a model of good works in all aspects. Ephesians 4:2-3. Be completely humble and gentle, patient, bearing with one another in love. Your faith should be visible. Humble and gentle. Boy, I come up short on that all the time. I don't feel humble and gentle when somebody cuts me off on the way to work in the morning. Humble and gentle. Well, bless you in the name of Jesus. You must have a terrible boss and deal with that guy. Humble and gentle. Just me? Apparently not. No. Jesus modeled it. Jesus ate with sinners. And if you don't have a lot of depth in Scripture, you may be like, well, I've heard about that. What's the big deal about that? That was a no-no. That was religious people were here. The religious Jews were here and eating with Samaria or sin. That was down here. You weren't supposed to do that. But Jesus humbled himself. He humbled himself. He didn't compromise himself. He humbled himself to go spend time with that. And he modeled this compassion and empathy long before he taught the parable of the Good Samaritan. Before he said it, he did it. Right? In Mark 1, is that on there? It did. He touched lepers. He showed grace. He modeled it. He set the example of it long before he taught about it. He wasn't all talk. Jesus didn't just tell us what love looks like. He showed it. Be honest, kind, generous. People remember how you live way more than what you say. Come on, you guys know what I'm talking. You have those friends. They talk this, they live this. Could be us, could be me. I don't want that. I don't think it's helpful. Number 2, first one's conduct. Number 2, example and consistency. This is really repetition, but it didn't ring like conduct, consistency, and compassion. So I can't help it. Greg knows what I mean. You get taught in school, right? Repetition. Steadfast. In 1 Corinthians, it tells us to be steadfast and immovable, right? Just consistent. Be patient. 5:7, there it's talking about a farmer being patient for the fruit to come, right? You plant, you water, you wait, and you do, but he's just consistent. He's immovable. He's waiting. Luke 16 tells us about being faithful in small things. Habits of prayer, word, and integrity. You know, it's easy as a Christian to become one, and then you just kind of throw it into cruise control, kind of like for the rest of your life. Well, Greg, I don't know why I really need to read into this. I mean, I read it, and that's how I got here. Why do I need to keep reading it? Well, I don't know. You had a shower one time. Well, Greg, I've had a shower once. Yes, we know. We're aware. You may want to increase that repetition a little bit, right? I've got a great wife. I have hats that after a while, they need to go away because they don't get cleaned enough. And so Cindy's like, yeah, you know that Helly Hansen hat? Yeah, that needs to go away because it's not nice, right? But we walk around having repented once 30 years ago. And then all of the world that just we just live in it. Cindy and I used to live in the mountains of Virginia, and it wasn't as bad, but we lived in Dallas, and now we live here. And I would notice when the sun hits my window just right, there's this film of whatever in the window. What is that? That's just the world. I didn't do anything into that, but just by moving through it, there's this stuff. And you can leave it. I can see it kind of through it, but you got to clean it. You just got to clean it off. And that's part of repetition and consistency. Our kids don't need to see us pray at Christmas dinner, Thanksgiving, and Easter They need to see us living this thing all the time. All the time. That's hard. Roger Bannister, when he ran that 4-minute mile, he probably wasn't just, checking it. He was working it. Setting that example is hard work. Lacing it up every day and running into the wind. And being consistent. Being consistent is hard. It's hard. Try and get up 30 minutes earlier every day. Yeah. And then just do that now from now on. That's hard because I've been trying to do that. I'm not consistent. By the way, this is to me too. This hits home for me. This is to me, right? What if you ate one time? I don't need to come and get anything. I ate once. I got enough to get over the line, and now I'm good. I don't ever need to eat again. What would you look like? Well, you wouldn't make it. But we walk around emaciated spiritually, and people can see it. You smell funny, and you look funny. Right? But you say, well, but Jesus is the Lord of my life. I guess. Keep that over there. That looks funky and smells funky. And then we wonder, why aren't we packing out the churches of America? It's because we look funny and we smell funny. I don't want to go into that too hard. Hebrews 3:13 says this. I don't think it made it into here. It says, exhort one another every day, so none of you may be hardened by sin. Right? Hardened by sin. That's that thing I was talking about. It just gets on us. Dave, I love you, man. I am with you. I am for you. I'm step by step, side by side with you, brother. I exhort you, man. I am with you. So are we consistent? And here, take this one with you. Faithfulness is not flashy, okay? But it's transformative. It's transformative. Consistency, faithfulness is not flashy. I've never been flashy. I'm doughy. I'm short. I can't run very fast. There's never been anything. I dress like I'm colorblind, blue, gray, and black. I'm not flashy, but I show up. I just show up. I played basketball in high school. A double-double for me was 2 fouls, 2 turnovers. I dove on the floor. I took a charge. I scrapped. Because I wasn't flashy, but I was faithful. I was going to go at it. Last thought here is don't aim to be impressive. Aim to be consistent. Barriers to consistency. Don't get dissed. I'm not using it right. I know. I'm not that old. I just liked it. Discouragement will get you distracted from consistency. Distraction will get you distracted from consistency. And disobedience, small compromises, build up. These will take you kind of off, right? This stuff. Number 3, it's my last one. Jared, you were right. This does move quicker. Wherever he is. I'm like, it's 30 minutes. Oh, there you are. I'm up here like he's over here somewhere. Moves fast. Compassion. Examples in compassion. John 13:35. I don't know what, this really hit me hard the other day while I was getting ready for this. I've seen this I don't know how many times. By this, all men will know you are my disciples, that you love one another. It's not your doctrine. It's not your piety, how much you give, how much you sacrifice. By this, what is this? By what? That you love one another? That's how people know? How do we miss that? When I say people, me, how do I miss that? mean, surely Jesus got this wrong. It cannot be that simple. I actually think it is. You see, compassion's not just an emotion, it's action. It's demonstrated. And Jesus demonstrated it. He demonstrated it in John when he wept for Lazarus. Oh, think about that. It forgives quickly. It bears burden. It sacrifices preferences. Think about those three things. Forgives quickly, bears burdens, and sacrifices preferences. Does that sound like the kind of father, spouse, person you want to be connected with? I do. I want to be that person. Am I that person? Not all the time. That's why we're constantly leaning into this thing. We don't repent one time 40 years ago. I repent almost daily. Lord, please help me. I'm terrible at this. Jesus loved unconditionally. The thief on the cross. He loved the thief on the cross. Peter denies him. I don't even know you. I don't even know you. Can you imagine if I meet Greg out in public and I don't know who you are? And then he goes, Rusty, I love you so much. He would be like, what are you doing? What do you mean you don't know? He loves us unconditionally. He loves us in spite of ourselves. I want to read out of Corinthians 13. It may even come off as almost a cliche, but it's just talk about an example of compassion. If I speak with the tongues of men and of angels but do not have love, I have become a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. If I had the gift of prophecy and I know all mysteries and all knowledge. I know everything. And if I have faith to remove mountains, think about that. I know everything. I can move mountains. But if I don't have love, I am nothing. I am nothing. And if I give all my possessions to feed the poor, and if I surrender my body to be burned but do not have love, it profits me nothing. Here's the example. Love is patient. Love is kind. Not jealous. It does not brag. It is not arrogant. Does not seek its own. Is not provoked. How easily we're provoked. Me, provoked. Wow. Does not take into account a wrong suffered. We could just master that. What would our life look like? Oh. Does not rejoice in unrighteousness. Bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. That's what we should be doing is setting that as an example. I think we owe it to one another. I think we owe it to our spouses. My spouse models this to me daily. It lifts me. It challenges me. It makes me better at what I do. Slide 9. Next slide here. I want to see this. Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions. Truth. Did Jesus only talk about it while hanging on a cross like that? He was saying to the people that was doing to him, Lord, forgive them. They don't even know what they're doing. We'll never live to that. We'll never live to that. I just can't. But what a model of compassion. That while we were yet sinners, as it says in Romans 5. Before I conclude, I'll leave you with it. If we're only showing compassion when it's easy, then it's not, it's just a hobby. It's just really something we dabble with. Breaking barriers is hard work. But it can be life-changing. It can be life-changing to people when we live these things, when we break through these barriers and we set these examples. I mentioned when I first started that there were 3 men that ran. So Roger Bannister breaks the 4-minute mile. And then a few months later, 2 guys. And then the next year, 3 guys. 3 men in a race, the Commonwealth Games, the British Commonwealth Games, 3 men in the same race. There's a young man in the stands watching this race. He was so enthralled. He got so excited. He committed himself to track and field. He ends up running for Oregon. That's where the meet was. It was in Vancouver. Cindy knows where I'm going with this. And that young man is Phil Knight, and he founded Nike. And who would have thought that Roger Bannister, running on that wet, windy, damp field in 1954, would inspire and have input into the kingdom of Nike that it's become? You don't know. You don't know who you're inspiring. There's a young man sitting back there at the booth, punching in this stuff. I owe it to him to be consistent, to show compassion. I don't know where he's going, and I don't know what he's going to do. But I don't want it to be a detriment what he sees in my life. I just don't. I just don't. And you may I don't feel like Roger Bannister. I don't feel like somebody that can do that. I get it. I don't either. But if we race to the end, if we push through to the end and be consistent, it's that pushing through to the end. Is anybody, who knew Roger Bannister? Who knew Roger Bannister when I said Roger? A couple in the crowd. You ever heard of Chris Brasher? No, you've never heard of Chris Brasher. He was actually in the lead for the first 2 laps in that race for the famous mile. He was in the lead. They weren't interviewing him all around the world like they did Roger Bannister. How about Chris Chataway? No? He was in the lead for the 3rd lap. And actually in the 3rd lap, Roger Bannister was in 3rd place. But he made it to the end. And in the end, Roger Bannister broke through. I don't care what you did in your first lap. Maybe you jacked your life up all kind of sideways. Maybe. I know I did. I kind of got into it in my second lap. Maybe your second lap wasn't good too. I'm from a broken home. I had addictions. I've been to prison. I don't know. But today we're on our 4th lap. We're on our 4th lap today. It doesn't really matter what happened yesterday. Can't fix it, can't change it, can't whitewash it. It is what it is. I know some people don't like that phrase. I actually use it a lot. It is in a state that I cannot change or do anything about. I just can't. I can today. I can today, Greg. I can. And I think our families deserve it. And I think they deserve us not pontificating about it. My spouse doesn't need to hear me talking about it. Cindy doesn't need to see me do this, and then I go home and I'm a different person. It's not helpful. She has a son that we raised together, and I decided when I showed up, he's my son. And he will see one version of me, and I will always be there. And he can call me anytime, anywhere, and I will drop everything. And that stands today, almost 30 years later. Because that's just the right thing to do. I'm asking, as your friend, your neighbor, a lot of you are my neighbors. Let's be consistent. Let's get our conduct right. Let people walk in this place and go, wow, I don't know what their hermeneutics or exegesis, I don't know what any of that is, but I don't know what the charisma of the man, these people really love each other. They're doing something, they just got the basic things right? So, anyway, I encourage you in that. I don't care what your first 3 laps look like. Today starts lap number 4. Let's lead with example.